Money is a guarantee that we may have what we want in the future. Though we need nothing at the moment, it ensures the possibility of satisfying a new desire when it arises. So then happiness is manifestly something focal and self-sufficient, being the end of all things which are and may be done. Now of the chief good, i.e. of happiness, men seem to form their notions from the different modes of life, as we might naturally expect. The many and most low conceive it to be pleasure, and hence they are content with the life of sensual enjoyment. It is plain then that the good or ill fortunes of their friends do affect the dead somewhat. Love is composed by a single soul inhabiting two bodies. The points required in happiness are found in combination of our account of it. For some think it is virtue, others practical wisdom, others a kind of scientific philosophy, others that it is these, or else some one of them, in combination with pleasure. Or at least not independently of it, while others again take in external prosperity. We praise the reason or rational part of the soul, because it exhorts aright into the best course, but clearly there is in them, beside the reason, some other natural principle which fights with and strains against the reason. You must not demand the reason either in all things alike, because in some it is sufficient that the fact has been well demonstrated. To sift all of the opinions would be perhaps rather a fruitless task, so it shall suffice to sift those which are most generally current, or are thought to have some reason in them. The chief good we feel instinctively must be something which is our own, and not easily to be taken from us. I draw no distinction between young in years, and youthful in temper and disposition. Every bad man is ignorant what he ought to do and what to leave undone, and by reason of such error men become unjust and wholly evil. For as it is not one swallow or one fine day that makes a spring, so it is not one day or a short time that makes a man blessed and happy. Men are not justified by calling those actions involuntary, which are done by reason of anger or lust. The man who is truly good and sensible bears all fortunes, we presume, becomingly, and always does what is noblest under the circumstances. Happiness belongs to the class of things precious and final. Are we then to call no man happy while he lives, and, as Solon would have us, look to the end? And again, if we are to maintain this position, is a man then happy when he is dead? For to constitute happiness, there must be, as we have said, complete virtue and a complete life. Every art, and every science reduced to a teachable form, and in like manner every action and moral choice, aims, it is thought, at some good. The man of education will seek exactness too far in each subject as the nature of the thing admits, it being plainly much the same absurdity. To put up with a mathematician who tries to persuade without proving, and to demand strict demonstrative reasoning of a rhetorician. By human excellence we mean not that of man's body but that of his soul, for we call happiness a working of the soul. But what kind of things one ought to choose instead of what, it is not easy to settle, for there are many differences in particular instances. The arousing of prejudice, pity, anger, and similar emotions has nothing to do with the essential facts, but is merely a personal appeal to the man who is judging the case. Rhetoric is the counterpart of dialectic. Both alike are concerned with such things as come, more or less, within the general ken of all men and belong to no definite science. It is absurd to hold that a man ought to be ashamed of being unable to defend himself with his limbs, but not of being unable to defend himself with speech and reason, when the use of rational speech is more distinctive of a human being than the use of his limbs. And if it be objected that one who uses such power of speech unjustly might do great harm, that is a charge which may be made in common against all good things except virtue, and above all against the things that are most useful, as strength, health, wealth, generalship. A man can confer the greatest of benefits by a right use of these, and inflict the greatest of injuries by using them wrongly. There are three things which inspire confidence in the orator's own character, the three, namely, that induce us to believe a thing apart from any proof of it: good sense, good moral character, and good will. In a political debate, the man who is forming a judgment is making a decision about his own vital interests. There is no need, therefore, to prove anything except that the facts are what the supporter of a measure maintains they are. What makes a man a sophist is not his faculty, but his moral purpose. A statement is persuasive and credible either because it is directly self-evident or because it appears to be proved from other statements that are so. That the orator's own character should look right is particularly important in political speaking, that the audience should be in the right frame of mind, in lawsuits. Rhetoric may be defined as the faculty of observing in any given case the available means of persuasion. Ethical studies may fairly be called political, and for this reason rhetoric masquerades as political science, and the professors of it as political experts, sometimes from want of education, sometimes from ostentation, sometimes owing to other human failings. The duty of rhetoric is to deal with such matters as we deliberate upon without arts or systems to guide us, in the hearing of persons who cannot take in at a glance a complicated argument, or follow a long chain of reasoning. Rhetoric falls into three divisions, determined by the three classes of listeners to speeches. Four of the three elements in speech-making: speaker, subject, and person addressed. It is the last one, the hearer, that determines the speech's end and object. Those who have been wronged, or believe themselves to be wronged, are terrible, for they are always looking out for their opportunity. The main matters on which all men deliberate and on which political speakers make speeches are some 5 in number: ways and means, war and peace, national defense, imports and exports, and legislation. Of those we have wronged, and of our enemies or rivals, it is not the passionate and outspoken whom we have to fear, but the quiet, dissembling, unscrupulous. Since we never know when they are upon us, we can never be sure they are at a safe distance. When people are feeling friendly and placable, they think one sort of thing. When they are feeling angry or hostile, they think either something totally different or the same thing with a different intensity. People who are afflicted by sickness or poverty or love or thirst or any other unsatisfied desires are prone to anger and easily roused. Things that cause friendship are doing kindnesses, doing them unasked, and not proclaiming the fact when they are done, which shows that they were done for our own sake and not for some other reason. Forgetfulness, too, causes anger, as when our own names are forgotten, trifling as this may be, since forgetfulness is felt to be another sign that we are being slighted. It is due to negligence, and to neglect us is to slight us. We feel friendly towards those whom we help to secure good for themselves, provided we are not likely to suffer heavily by it ourselves. Fear is caused by whatever we feel has great power of destroying or of harming us in ways that tend to cause us great pain. The investigation of the truth is in one way hard, in another easy. So while a thing in a finite time cannot come in contact with things quantitatively infinite, it can come in contact with things infinite in respect of divisibility, for in this sense the time itself is also infinite. For it is owing to their wonder that men both now begin and at first began to philosophize. They wondered originally at the obvious difficulties, then advanced little by little and stated difficulties about the greater matters. They were pursuing science in order to know, and not for any utilitarian end. We should not only be grateful to those in whose opinions we share but also to those who have gone astray, for even the latter have contributed something, since they have prepared the condition for us. For nothing is moved at haphazard, but in every case there must be some reason present. If, then, God is always in that good state in which we sometimes are, this compels our wonder, and if in a better, this compels it yet more. And God is in a better state, and life also belongs to God, for the actuality of thought is life, and God is that actuality, and God's self-dependent actuality is life most good and eternal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and like, comment, share.